Hey everyone, Jack here, Talk Norwich City. Welcome back to another video. Norwich City have a busy week ahead. Sheffield Wednesday on Wednesday at Carrow Road. And then Saturday, it's the big one. It's the East Anglian Derby. It's much anticipated, I think, for all the wrong reasons. If you're yellow and green, I suspect if you're blue and white, you're far more excited for the proposition of that game. But we shall concentrate on the most imminent game in hand, and that is Sheffield Wednesday. And this is an intriguing encounter because I think if we'd have beaten Preston, which we were expected to, and we probably should have done, this would have carried real weight. You'd have been 1 point off the playoffs. You'd have been going into an East Anglian derby with 5 wins in the last 6 games, and it just feels as if the stuffing has been sort of kicked out of us a little bit after that 0-0 draw to Preston. We didn't lose, and there were parts of that performance that will excite some. But I'm just in this constant cycle of doom at the moment when it comes to the Canaries. I still haven't seen anything in the most recent kind of 5 performances that gives me any kind of hope that we can sustain a challenge on the playoffs this season. I think we will, forever be 4, 5, 6 points away from the top 6. But I just think, much like last season, things are going to fizzle out a little bit. And I think if people look at the league table, they see Sheffield Wednesday, rooted, well, not rooted to the bottom. Actually, they're 23rd in the table after a decent run of form. They've won their last 2. They've also drawn to Leicester in the last 3 games. So despite only winning 3 games this season, 2 of those have come in their last 2. They're managed by a new chap, Danny Roll, who is kind of his first introduction to management, I guess. But his CV is pretty impressive. He's worked with the Germany national team. He's worked with Southampton. He's worked with RB Leipzig, and clearly the Sheffield Wednesday fans have grabbed onto him, and he's provided some hope for them. And still a massive, mountain to climb for them. They're still sort of 8 points from safety, but moving in the right direction. Their most recent win was against Stoke, a 1-0 win. They beat Blackburn 3-1, a 1-1 draw against Leicester. Granted, in all of them games, there's been a late goal. 3 games, 3 goals after the 90th minute. So clearly a team that have got a great mentality at the moment and are really kicking on. So I think if you look at the table, you go, well, Norwich should win this game, and yes, we should, absolutely we should. But if you look at the way that the 2 teams have been playing, I don't think you would be too delusional to say that Sheffield Wednesday have a real chance here. I think much like Preston, they'll be happy for us to have the ball. I think it's all well and good having lots of the ball and plenty of possession, but it's what you do with it. And actually, I thought we looked completely lost of ideas on Saturday against Preston. We had probably 1 clear-cut chance, maybe 2. I'd say the Liam Gibbs one we should score. Shane Duffy was actually unlucky not to score from his header. I thought he did all he really could from that. And on Hernandez through on goal, wouldn't say it was a chance as good as Liam Gibbs, but did have an opportunity to either square or at least challenge the goalkeeper more than he did. When you have 1, that many shots, and 2, that much of the ball, you should be creating more clear-cut chances against a fairly poor Preston side. And it was interesting for me walking out of Carrow Road and having a couple of beers after the game and chatting to friends of mine who were actually relatively happy with what they'd seen. And that surprised me, and I think it's because of this. I think Norwich City fans have come to the point now where they're just expecting mediocrity, and when the board and the hierarchy at Norwich City seems so reluctant to make change, then what do you have to grapple onto? You've got the only hope that we had on Saturday that was Liam Gibbs running through on goal. I mean, there was not much to cheer about, but the expectations, I think, are now limited. I think expectations have been brought down to earth slightly. Zoe Webber said that the realistic expectation of this season was playoffs. I can't see it happening. And I think fans have gone, you know what, actually, this is our lot. This is what we can get used to. So, the fact that we passed the ball around, half decently around the edge of the box and had a couple of chances satisfied some fans. Which surprised me, but I'm afraid that's where we're at. If expectations are at rock bottom, I think anything above that gives you hope, and you can't be disappointed. So sadly, we are in a position where we're just a very average Championship team, and I don't think that changes with David Wagner as head coach. But nothing looks to be changing anytime soon, so we've just got to try and get behind this team and try and put points on the table, and this is a great opportunity to do exactly that. Team selection is going to be interesting. I think you have to have Johnny Rowe in there to start. I can only assume that was more of a fitness related issue than a tactical one from David Wagner to not start him against Preston North End. So he'd be coming straight back into the side. And I think there's always one player, isn't there, on a team sheet where they get selected and all fans are up and out, furious about it. And that player at the moment is Onel Hernandez. Now, I don't think he's scored at Carrow Road since 2019. I think I saw a stat. He's made six key chances in his past 99 Norwich City appearances. So clearly the numbers aren't on his side. David Wagner does like him. I think the work ethic is one of the reasons for that. And I think his ability to track back and support his wing back is probably the other. But in terms of attacking output, it's simply not been good enough from Onel Hernandez. And I suspect, actually, that out of the two games, the Ipswich Town game is probably going to be slightly more suited to him. He's got, a bit of an emotional attachment with that game. He scored in an East Anglian derby. He's got the tattoo of the Norwich City logo. And I think actually there will be more room in behind Ipswich Town than there will be Sheffield Wednesday, who I expect to be sat relatively deep, try and press more from the front, try and nick something and hit us on the counter. You've seen the late goals they've scored recently. I think they will be more than happy to park the bus and hopefully just not see much quality from us and then try and pick us off later on in the game. I think if we take the lead in this early, which we needed to against Preston, then it could be a completely different complexion. But I think if we get 60 minutes in once again and we still haven't seen a goal, it could well end up exactly the same as it did on Saturday, if not worse. So I think Hernandez is an interesting one. I mean, who do you bring in for him? Do you bring Borja Sainz in, who still isn't, I wouldn't say proven, but hasn't had the chance to prove? So Borja is an option. The other option is you bring Johnny Rowe back in. I think he has to start. You keep Christian Fasnacht in the team, who has been a little bit hot and cold recently, and then possibly bring Borja Sainz into the number 10. That also means that you risk dropping Ashley Barnes, who, again, has been fairly cold the last couple of games since returning from injury. Probably a player you want to feature in the derby just because of his experience and his ability to kind of rile opposition team members up. I think you still have to start with Adam Eder. From what we've got to choose from at the moment, Adam seems to be the best of our options in terms of a striker, now that Hwang's also injured. So I think that's probably the area of the pitch that we may well see change in. And the other talking point at the moment is, of course, that of Kenny McLean. Now, he's been playing at centre-back recently, and I think actually this will work in this game. I suspect he will start there again. It's certainly not a sustainable method to take forwards, and if Kenny and Duffy start against Ipswich Town, then I think we really do have cause for concern. But you have to take it game by game. It's clear that Kenny, is very shrewd with the ball at his feet. Can pick a pass when there's not the aerial threat that some teams possess, and there will be more possession for Norwich. I don't think it's the end of the world to stick Kenny in centre back, so I suspect that will probably remain the same. This is, look, I'm not going to say must win, because I mean, what are we, at this point, what are we actually winning games for? I mean, I can't imagine we'll get in the playoffs, but in terms of expectation, we should be winning this match. We absolutely should be. Yes, Sheffield Wednesday are on the up. You look at the respective squads. Ours is far superior on paper, and I know that means nothing. And certainly on recent performances, Sheffield Wednesday, will fancy this and fancy themselves to pick up another really crucial result in terms of moving forwards. So there we go. Just in a state of kind of apathy at the moment when it comes to this squad and what we're seeing. I'm seeing a reluctance for change, and that really frustrates me because it's clear that we're sleepwalking into mediocrity, and that is a real feeling that I don't want to continue. This club should be constantly striving for better. I believe that we could achieve more, but at the moment we're not heading in a great direction, and that needs to change, and hopefully that changes very soon. I'm relatively hopeful we get the job done against Sheffield Wednesday. I think we need a far better performance than we saw against Preston. That's possible, but I'm just clinging on to some form of hope that we have something to grab onto going into that East Anglian derby. If we were to draw this, or worse, lose it, you're going into it almost from a standing start. We need some degree of momentum going into what will be our biggest game of the season at Portman Road. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. What changes would you make for the team going into it? And I'll see you all at Carrow Road on Wednesday. Thanks very much for watching. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.